Hello my friends, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin and we are doing another TBR slasher. This is a special TBR slasher though because it is a Goodreads Choice Awards edition. If you don't know, I will link my previous TBR slashers down below, but it is my version of trying to read down my TBR, trying to get my TBR under control, trying to read the books on my TBR. You've seen a bunch of people on YouTube doing them. They're all amazing, and this is just my own interpretation of that challenge. So usually what I do is I spin a wheel that has categories, genres, whatever on it, and then I get to pick the book that fits that category, but still kind of like mood reading. Instead, what I did is I went through all the Goodreads Choice Awards nominated books and I picked all the titles that I still want to read and that I actually own on my TBR. I think the only one that I've just recently bought was The Raven Scholar, but I got them all out for my TBR. This is the stack. I have 15 books, I think. And instead of spinning the wheel to pick like a genre or a category, I'm going to spin the wheel to pick a title. So I have all the titles of all 15 books on here written down on this wheel, and I'm going to spin to pick my reads. And I'm just going to try to read as many of these as I can. Hopefully I get through a lot of them. I don't know. There's a lot of books in this pile and I don't know how many I'm going to be able to read, but I just want to read as many Goodreads Choice Award nominated books as I can just to see if they're worthwhile, but also because I already own these and they're on my TBR, I just want to see if I can get a few knocked down so my TBR gets lessened. But yeah, I have a mix of titles. I have I think I only have 2 horror, some fiction, a historical fiction, fantasy, romance, thrillers. I think that's it. I don't have a lot of one particular genre. I just have a ton of books. So this is going to be a big mishmash. So I went on Google and I just looked up spinner wheel and then I wrote in all the book titles that I own and want to read. I'm going to shuffle it a few times. I already did this, but I just feel like shuffling it makes it feel more random. I don't know. So I guess now we just have to pick the first title that I will be reading in this vlog. I don't particularly want romance. I mean, fantasy romance is okay. I just don't want the 2 romance books that I have. I'm not feeling romance. So anything else would be great. So let's spin it and see which one I get. I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, I said I didn't want this book. When I was picking them all. Oh my gosh, it's so long. It's such a long book. So it looks like the first book that I will be reading in this vlog is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. It's so long. How many pages is this? Oh my god, it's over 500. Amazing. This is the first book I'll be reading. Okay, great. So I guess I'll check in when I have thoughts, feelings, opinions, any of that on The Devils. I'm very worried that this vlog was a terrible idea because it feels like a bad omen that the first book I'm reading is gonna be a DNF. I made it 83 pages into The Devils by Joe Abercrombie and I absolutely hate it so far. I am not invested. I'm not interested. I don't want to pick it up. I don't care about anything. And now I'm new to fantasy, right? We all know that fantasy is a genre that I haven't really dabbled in. So this is the year that I've really kind of dipped my toes into it, right? Now I will say that I haven't read a lot of fantasy by male authors. I primarily read books by women anyways, just in all genres, but I will say I think there's only been one other book I've read. Maybe. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think there's only been one other fantasy book that I've read that was by a man, and as soon as I started this, I was like, oh, I can tell it's written by a man. Like, it's so obvious that it was bothering me. Look, I'm not trying to be mean. I wanted to try Joe Abercrombie because I've heard that he does like grim, dark fantasy. So like that gritty, kind of like more dark, horror-ish kind of fantasy. This is reading like a Marvel action movie or something. And that makes me hate it even more. I'm not a fan of like action movies, especially like Marvel movies. I know that's a super unpopular opinion, but anything like, honestly, I'm not a DC person either. So anything like Batman, Marvel, I just don't care. I just don't care. It's not my realm. It's not my thing. And this is very much Suicide Squad. So if you've seen Suicide Squad, the premise of this is so similar. It's the first thing I thought of, and I was like, okay. I mean, I enjoyed the movie enough. Like, it was good, I guess. But, like, would I go out of my way to watch something like this? No. The humor in this is so cringy because there's a lot of, like, feces and vomit and, like, just trying to be funny, like, using that, like, fart jokes and stuff. And it's like, is that funny sometimes? Sure, but the repetitive nature, and it just feels like it's such a try hard. Like, it's trying so hard to be funny, and I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't like the writing. I don't like the characters. I don't like the plot. I don't like the way it's reading. I think the comedy is so, like, dude bro comedy that it gives me the ick so bad. I'll tell you a little bit about the plot that I do know because I only got to 80 pages. I believe this is a fantasy medieval Europe setting, okay? And there are two types of stories happening, but they've converged into like one thing now. But there's this character named Alex, and she was basically a thief living on the streets, and this guy comes up to her and he's like, hey, you're this long-lost princess of Troy, okay? And I need to get you back there so you can, you know, take your rightful place, be the princess, right? Brother Diaz is getting assigned to be the person that overlooks this band of miscreants, okay? There's like a necromancer, a vampire, a magician, like just this group of people, and, you know, he's gonna watch over these people, make sure everything goes according to plan, because they're gonna escort Alex, the girl that just got told she's a princess, to Troy, right? They're gonna make sure she gets there. They start this journey and things start happening. Oh my god, I just don't care. I just don't care. I can't do this. I am probably making so many people upset because I know this is a well-loved author. I've heard great things about this book. It is 100% not for me, not my type of fantasy. Like I said, I definitely prefer fantasy written by women, just like I prefer, I don't know, every other book I read to be by women. But yeah, this is going up on my Pango immediately because it is not something that I am particularly, I don't particularly want to finish it. And this is almost 600 pages. There's no way I'm going to keep going for almost 600 pages. That's insane. No thank you. Okay, so I have my spinner wheel up again. I'm going to shuffle a few more times. I don't know why, but it just, I don't know. It makes me feel better to have it shuffled. So we're going to spin again and hope, please let this be something good. Something better. Oh my gosh. Okay. Back-to-back fantasy. Yes. Yes. Okay. I hope I like this one because this is also going to be 600 pages of God knows what if I can't get through this. Let's hope this isn't a DNF. So I'm gonna start this and I will let you know when I get somewhere. I might have to update you halfway since it's 600 pages, or I might just update you when I finish, but The Raven Scholar, it's next. Okay, so I'm finally halfway through The Raven Scholar. I'm on page 320, and it's taken me so long to get halfway through this book. Not because I don't like it. I am absolutely loving this book, but for whatever reason, I'm reading so slow. My sleep schedule has been really bad. So I've had just like no time to read. So I've been reading it pretty much like bite size by bite size amount. And so it's just taken me days to get here. But I really am liking this. I can see why a bunch of people have become obsessed with this because it is so interesting, and I was engaged really early on. I think by chapter 3, like here, I was like, oh, I need to keep reading to find out what's going on in this. Now, remember, I am new to fantasy, so I do feel like my plot synopsis won't be as good as I'm hoping for it to be. I'm just like learning how to explain fantasy, so I can see it in my brain how I want to explain this book, but I don't know if it'll come out very well, so just bear with me. But in the beginning, we are following Yana, and she has just turned 16. She has a twin, and we learned that her dad started a coup, and they are labeled like traitors now, so they're kind of having a rough time, and some things happen because of what her dad has done. And then we kind of jump to a different character, Nima. And the thing about this fantasy world is they believe in the 8, or I believe like 8 guardians. They're animals. So like there's the raven, the monkey, the tiger, the dragon, the bear, the ox, the hound. I think that's all of them. Was that 8? I don't remember, but you get what I'm saying. So they believe in these guardians, and it kind of like very little reminds me of Divergent, because you pledge yourself to like the faction that you want to like serve, I guess, when you reach a certain age. And so you can pledge yourself to like the monkey faction, and then you can serve the monkey and, you know, do whatever they're doing. But I think it's every 24 years, if the emperor decides to last the full 24 years, or if they don't like die or whatever, every 24 years they hold this competition to see who's going to become the new emperor. So one person becomes the contender for their guardian faction, and then they kind of like fight to figure out who's going to become the emperor or okay. They fight to see who's going to become the emperor or the empress, whatever. And it's interesting because in books hello? Hi. I gotta finish this. Can I film really quick? I know. Can I film? I'm gonna talk about this book for a minute, okay? Can I film? Oh, you want in my lap. But I can't put you in my lap right now. Can you just give me a minute? It's interesting because in books like this, usually it's like a fight to the death, but that's not like this. It's not like Hunger Games where someone's gonna be the sole survivor. Like, it's not like that. It's just a competition, and then the person that wins is the person that wins. And in this section, Nima, she is a part of the Raven faction, and she is very scholarly. She's a very interesting character. I can see why a lot of people won't like her. I believe Kayla from Books and Lala, she just did a reading vlog where she read this book, and she mentioned that a lot of people probably won't like Nima. I think she's she's one of those characters that's gonna correct you on everything you say, but I think she's very fun. Like, I like her as a main character. She's very opinionated, but also she's just like a typical smart character where it's not necessarily about being right. It's just like, I have to tell you what is correct because it's just like my innate being to like correct you and say, well, actually, and she doesn't do it in like a snobby, snooty way. It's more just like, I have this knowledge and I want to explain and tell you that that's not correct and tell you what's the facts. People just don't really like her. I think they find her awkward. I think she comes across a certain way to certain people and they don't like that about her, but also it's just kind of mean. Like, the people just don't necessarily have a reason for not liking her, they just don't like her. But anyways, some things happen, some situations occur, and that means she ends up getting to be the Raven contender in the competition for Emperor. So she's gotten roped into this whole situation and now she has to participate in this competition. So that's where I'm at now. And again, really liking it. There is a unique twist to this book where you just get to hear from a perspective that isn't necessarily a normal perspective. So yeah, I'm liking that. It's not like a typical human perspective, I guess I'll say. And I'm liking that. I'm liking the writing. I like the plot. It's sucked me in because there's like a mystery going on that you kind of need to solve, and that's also something that I like. And yeah, I'm having a great time. It's reading really fast, which is great because it is like 600 pages, but also it's reading really slow because I'm reading it really slow. But yeah, I am enjoying this. I can see why it's up for a Goodreads award, and I can see why a lot of people have liked it, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm gonna keep reading this. I'm hoping to get really, really close to finishing it today because I'm just gonna sit down and read. Like, I'm just gonna sit down and zone in. So that's where I'm at now, and I will let you all know what I think when I finish it. Her. I loved this. I loved it. I ate up every single page. Okay, I know it's 600 pages, which I am someone who thinks a book should be no longer than 350, okay? But this book, I love the characters. It was so funny. It genuinely made me gasp from things that happened because I was so taken aback and surprised. Like, I didn't ever really guess where the book was going, and it had so many surprising things that I just I was so invested in the story and the storytelling and the world building that I wasn't even, I don't think, processing the book in a way that allowed me to even come up with certain ideas or formulate my own like theories or anything like that. I was so just like, whoa, what is going on? The ending, I need book 2. I hate the fact that fantasy is making me a series person now because I hate waiting for books. I hate waiting for books. I am so impatient. I want to binge read this series and I physically am not able to, and that is devastating to my soul. But seriously, I really enjoyed this. I know it took me several days. I think it took me a whole week to finish this book, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because my sleep schedule and just like I wasn't able to read as much as I wanted to every day. So it took me a long time, but every time I picked it up, I was always enjoying it. I was always eager to pick it back up. Like I said, I love the characters. Nima, I can see why people won't like her, but honestly, I loved her so much. There are so many good characters in this book, and I felt like I grew to love a lot of the characters. I felt like some of them I had certain feelings about in the very beginning, and then by the time the book was over, I was like, okay, I have a different feeling, I have a different opinion on you, I feel like I understand you better. So I really liked that. I felt like the world building was really well done because with a book this long, and at least for me, I feel like fantasy, I sometimes struggle with world building because I feel like they shove world building down my throat for the first 50 pages and then forget about it. And then they're like, here's the plot, and then they bring world building like back halfway through. I don't know, it's just like, it throws me off sometimes, but I felt like the world building was it felt normal. It didn't feel like someone was telling me about the world. It felt like they were showing me the world, right? It wasn't a lot of telling, it was more showing, which I do feel like some fantasy authors struggle with, so I really enjoyed that. I felt like the politics were really interesting and held my attention. Sometimes politics don't do that in these kinds of books, and so I was like, I don't know, but I really did enjoy that. There is a romance in this book, and the two characters have history. I believe Kayla discussed this in her review of it, but she usually likes seeing the relationship grow and not have it already be established and then you're like coming in halfway through a relationship. But she really liked this romance, and I did too, because there was banter, it felt easy. You didn't feel like you were kind of coming in halfway on the relationship. It just felt natural. Again, this book feels natural, I think, and I don't know if it's the writing style or this author in general, but it was super easy to read. I laughed so many times. I was shocked. I loved it. It's 5 stars, 100%. I had a great time. Loved every second of it. So I don't even know if I talked about this in the intro of this vlog, but the whole goal is to find a final girl, right? Because we're slashing through my TBR. We want a book to last, to get on my shelves. So this one is definitely the final girl so far. We might have more final girls depending on the books that I read, but so far this one is definitely a clear survivor. She is not getting tossed aside. She's not getting killed off. She is a survivor because this was excellent. So you know what that means. It's time to pull out my handy dandy spinner wheel. Here we are. We have the spinner wheel. Here's the books. I almost said coffin. I read Coffin Moon and I almost said these are the coffins. Here are the books. I was gonna shuffle it again, but I've shuffled so many times. So we're just gonna spin again and see what the next book I'm reading. If we get another fantasy, that's gonna be insane. Oh. Amazing! We're gonna read a third fantasy. To be fair, Watermoon has been on my TBR for a while. I've heard it has Studio Ghibli vibes, and Spirited Away is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. I love most of them, but Spirited Away is like my absolute favorite. So I'm excited to read this. I've heard mixed feelings, but I will give it a try for myself and hope that I end up liking it because, you know, I've already DNF'd one book. I don't want to dislike another book. So hopefully it works in my favor and I will update you all when I have something to say. Alright, so I have finished Watermoon and I personally really liked this book. I know I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this. I don't really know why people don't like it. I can't tell if I went into it with the right expectations. I don't know if this is just the type of fantasy that appeals to me, but I'm actually shocked that so many people don't enjoy this book because I found myself loving pretty much every minute of this one. So in this story, we're following the main character, Hannah, and she is about to take over the pawn shop that her father runs. This is passed down in her family, and she is now, you know, taking the reins of the pawn shop. And this pawn shop isn't ordinary. Basically, people will come to the pawn shop if they need to be there. It's not going to be you just walk through the door and you're there. It's going to be this person needs to be there and they will find the pawn shop. And the way they trade is they trade choices and regrets. And that's what the pawn shop deals with. So when the main character, Hannah, wakes up on the first day of her running the pawn shop, she wakes up to it ransacked and her father is missing. And this strange man walks in the door and he kind of gets swept in to what's happening with her dad, and he offers his help, and they go on an adventure to try and find her dad and figure out what's going on. This is so Studio Ghibli, and I think that's why it worked in my favor. It kind of reminds me of a mix of Howl's Moving Castle, Spirited Away, and The Boy and the Heron. Those three, not fully, but like bits and pieces of those movies. If you could take certain pieces of those and mix it together to create something new, it would feel kind of like this. There are things about it that just appealed to me because Studio Ghibli is so nostalgic to me. I grew up watching Spirited Away and Kiki's Delivery Service, so those two hold a special place in my heart. Spirited Away is my favorite movie of all time. Like, if I could only watch one movie forever, it would be Spirited Away. I love that movie with my whole heart, soul, being. So I think because it did remind me of that movie that I liked this a lot. It felt comfortable. It felt like an old sweater. It felt like something I was familiar with and I've grown up with. So it felt nostalgic in a way, but it wasn't something I had read before. I do like stories like this, that whole, I'm not necessarily a pawn shop, but a mysterious store that, you know, only certain people enter, only when you need it will you find it. It kind of reminds me of an episode of The Twilight Zone that I really love. So I'm not super unfamiliar with that kind of plot point, but the magical aspect and the fantasy world itself is really interesting, and I think the writing is very simple, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think what I read is a lot of people felt like it was YA, and I do kind of understand that because I feel like a simple writing style can kind of ride the lines between just simple and then like simple for a younger audience. So I can see why a lot of people felt that way. I think for me, because it felt so much like Studio Ghibli, the YA adjacent nature of it didn't really bother me because Studio Ghibli, I mean, I watched it when I was a kid, so it kind of feels like for kids, but anyone can watch Studio Ghibli, so I'm not saying there's like an age limit, but it does feel like it's for kids because I was watching it when I was a kid. So like, I think that's why it didn't really affect me, is because I'm used to that feeling, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't really know how to explain it, but I do feel like this writing style is very simple, and that might bother a lot of people because I think some people really enjoy like literary type novels where the writing is very flowery and very profound and deep and it feels layered. And this, while I'm not saying that it's not pretty writing, because there are some beautiful quotes in this book, it is very much on the simpler side. I don't really mind that because this is a type of book that I would read just as a comfy, cozy, little heartwarming read, you know? So that didn't really bother me. I think the only thing stopping this from being higher than a 4-star was the ending for me. It did something that I typically absolutely hate. There is like a trope that I hate in this ending, and personally it's just something that I can't stand. It bothers me in a lot of romance books. It bothers me in a lot of just like books in general. I don't want to say what it is just in case it's spoilery, so I mean it would be spoilery, so I'm not going to say it, but there is something about the ending that I personally don't like, so that bothered me. So that was stopping it from being a full like 4.5, 5-star. I would have liked more, to be honest, because it's a very short and fast read. It's over 300 pages, but it reads very, very quickly. So I think I would have liked just more time in the fantasy world. So besides the little ending problem that I had, I think more of the fantasy world I would have really, really enjoyed. But I did really like this. Again, it reminds me of Spirited Away, my favorite movie, so I can't be mad at this. So I am giving this a 4-star, and it is technically a final girl as well because it will be staying permanently on my shelves unless I decide to unhaul it one random day, but as for now, it has a permanent residence on my shelves. So we have another spin to do. I am really kind of hoping for something not fantasy and not romance. That would be great. Maybe I'll do it like one shuffle. Okay, not fantasy and not romance would be really great because I feel like that's all I've been reading. So, oh, that was so close. That was so close. I'm actually really glad that it's Junie because I've been dying to read this book. So that is the next one I will be reading, and I will check in when I have finished and let you all know what I thought of Junie. Alright, I'm back. I have finished Junie, and I have very mixed feelings about this book. I don't know. I don't know if I'm not... I just don't like historical fiction, I think. It's really hard for me to really enjoy it, and I think my expectations on this one were just not where they should have been. I think I was expecting a different kind of story based on like what I've heard from it and just like what people have said. I think I expected a different kind of book. So when I started reading, I was like, this is not quite the story I thought I was getting into, but I'll tell you a bit about it. So we're following the main character, Junie. She is 16. This book takes place in 1860, and Junie is enslaved on a plantation in Alabama. And she's like the personal housemaid to the master of the plantation's daughter, Violet, and they've pretty much grown up together and they are really close. Then these people kind of come to the plantation, and it's hinted at that the goal is to get Violet married off, but when Junie learns what's going to happen to her because of this, she kind of starts freaking out and makes some rash decisions, and something she does awakens her dead sister's ghost, and then a whole bunch of other stuff starts happening. This is much more of a coming of age story in my opinion than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know that Junie was 16. I mean, it literally says in the plot synopsis 16 years old and enslaved. So like I should have known that she was 16, but you know me, I don't really read the plot synopsis that often, so I didn't know that the main character was a teenager. And coming of age stories are so hit or miss for me that I don't know if it quite worked in the way that I would have liked it to with this book, like with everything going on, because this story is about love, romantic love, platonic love, familial love. It's about guilt. It's about just family in general. It's about freedom. It's about choices. I mean, like, it's about so many things. And I like a lot of what it was doing. But again, I think I thought this book was going to be something else. I think the supernatural aspect of this book could have been bigger, and as someone who reads horror a lot, I think I was expecting it to be bigger, and I was hoping that, you know, that was gonna play like a huge role into the story, and it just didn't. So that fell a little flat. The ending is devastating. I don't like the ending. That's gonna like rip your heart out. I mean, you might love the ending, but the ending is so soul destroying to me that that's the thing. It's not even... It's a mix of soul destroying and hopeful, but the soul destroying aspect I just don't like. So I don't know. I have like such mixed feelings. I think Junie is a very interesting character. When I read I believe it's the author's note in the back, she wanted to explore what it would look and feel like to see a character with dreams, ambitions, love, grief, and flaws in the same way every human has. Not as a means of diminishing the horror, but instead shining a light on the individual humanity of a group of people many have grown to perceive monolithically. So I think the author did a good job of doing what they set out to do. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think based on what this book is supposed to be, it was good. I think for my expectations and what I wanted, it just wasn't what I was expecting. It did read really quickly, so I mean, it was an easy read in terms of fast-paced and just like flying through it and getting sucked into the story. I think just a lot of things were like shocking in the sense that I wasn't expecting it to play out the way it did. So it just felt like something else than I anticipated. And that's pretty much all I can say. It's not bad. I can see a lot of people liking this, especially if you love historical fiction. I'm just not the biggest historical fiction fan, so I think it just fell a little short for me and what I typically like, but I do really enjoy this author's writing, and I would love to see what else they do and what else they come up with later on, because I would definitely pick up another book from them. But I'm probably gonna give it a 3.5. Not because I hated it, but just because it's not quite what I would have wanted it to be. So you know what that means? It's time to spin again. I don't even know how many times we're gonna spin, honestly. We're just gonna go until I read a bunch of books on my TBR because I need to get some of these read. Okay, let's just shuffle a couple times, you know, just for fun. And let's spin. Let's see what we get. We could get a fantasy, horror, thriller, romance. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it was gonna be a romance. Okay, we're gonna read King of Ashes next. So that is the next thing that I will be reading, and I will update you when I have my thoughts and feelings about it. Okay, don't mind the hair. I just got out of the shower, so it's all wet, but I have an update. This is not the update that I thought I was going to be making about this book, but unfortunately I'm going to go ahead and DNF it. I am 130 some pages in, and now I want to preface really quick before people start going, oh my god, DNFing, crazy, why? Okay, this is a solely personal issue that I have with this book, and the book is fine. Nothing's actually wrong with the book. This is just totally personal preference of why I don't want to continue reading it, which I will get into here in a moment, and I'm struggling with the cover. So, don't think this is a dig at the book. This is just a me issue. And I have read S.A. Cosby before, and I really enjoyed it. What was the book? Was it, All the Sinners Bleed? Yeah, I think that's the one I read, and I gave it 4 stars. And I really enjoy S.A. Cosby's writing. I think it's really, gritty and raw, and I really like the type of thrillers that he does. This is a me thing. I should have read the plot before I ordered this from Book of the Month, but as we all know, I don't tend to read plots very well before I buy books because I do like to go in blind, and because I had read S.A. Cosby before, I was like, okay, this is fine, just gonna get it, whatever, I'll like it. Okay, so this is about our main character, Roman. He finds out that his dad has been in an accident and he is in the hospital. So he ends up going back to his hometown in Virginia to be with his siblings, his sister Nevia and his brother Dante. This family has had kind of a rough time because their mother went missing. She basically just left work and disappeared and has never been seen again, and she's kind of the boogeyman story of the town. So they get reminded of it a lot, and I think it's just eaten at them that they don't know what happened to their mom, and it's just such a devastating thing that they have to live with. They're all together, and Roman finds out that his brother Dante is in some trouble. He owes some really bad people money, and they are very dangerous, very scary people, and Roman ends up getting involved because he's the older brother. He wants to protect his younger brother, and it just becomes a whole mess. Where I'm at, it's a mess. It's such a mess. It's such a mess, okay? And now, the reason I don't like this book is because I don't like books that center around drug dealing or drugs or like, and I don't mean like addiction. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean like people that are selling drugs for money. I'm talking about like they owe a lot of people money. Like the same thing with gambling. Like I don't like reading situations where people are in such like a bad way, because it gives me so much anxiety, but not in like a fun thriller anxiety. This like actually like rockets up my heart rate, okay? And so anything that has to do with like a cartel, or it's like, okay, I owe these people money and they're just really bad men, like I can't do it. I can't do it. It definitely feels like, it feels kind of like a movie, like an action movie, like The Godfather, or I don't know. I don't watch movies like that, so I can't give you examples, but like if you know what I'm talking about, like things with gangs and owing money, and it's just, oh my gosh, I just can't. I don't like plots like this. I don't like reading them. Anything with that, it just like, I don't know, I can't do it. Like it just rubs me so raw in a way that I don't like, and it has nothing to do with S.A. Cosby. I think his writing is fantastic. I think the story is really interesting, but like I just hate where this is going. Like I don't even want to read it because I'm just like, ew, like it's like making my skin crawl. It's making me itch. So I have to just like, I can't. I'm sorry, S.A. Cosby, this is not the book for me, but I do plan on reading his other work because I do really like his writing, but for whatever reason, this one, I can't do it. So I can see why it's up for a Goodreads Choice Award, but I'm not going to be finishing this. So that means we're gonna spin the wheel again. I don't even know how many times I'm gonna spin this wheel, to be honest. Like, how many times do I actually want to spin this? I don't know, but I just kind of want to get some of these books off my TBR. You can't even see the pile, but it's right next to me. So we're here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 left. There are some that I'm not as excited about to read, like the romance, some of the other thrillers. We've had a lot of fantasy, so we're gonna shuffle and then we're gonna go. I would like for The Compound to win, because that's the one that I just spoke that to existence. I just spoke that into existence. Yes, I'm so excited because I actually really want to read this book. I'm so excited to read this book. So yes, I'm going to be reading The Compound next, and I am absolutely thrilled because that's the one that I was really hoping I was going to get in this vlog. So that's the next book, and I will check in with my thoughts here in a bit. Hello, so I'm about to sit down and film a video. Well, I'm actually already sitting, but you know what I mean. So I was gonna sit down and film, but I wanted to update you really quick because I did finish The Compound. And can we just have a moment of silence, because this is my second 5-star in a video. I don't think that's ever happened. I literally don't think I've ever had 2 5-star books in one reading vlog. So honestly, this has been really successful for me. I don't know what that means about the Goodreads Choice Awards, because honestly I never really pay attention to them, but two of them were successful. I did have 2 DNFs though, and I did like the other 2, Water Moon and Junie. I did enjoy those. Anyways, let's talk about The Compound. This is going to be such a divisive book. I can 100% see why people do not like this, but oh my god, I think it was written for me. I think this was written for me. Like, this author was like, Erin, I know you, I know what you want, here you go. Not really, but it does feel like that, because as soon as I started it, I was having a grand old time. So in this book, we are following Lily, and in the very beginning of the book, she wakes up in this room, and across from her is another woman, and they start walking around. They realize they're in this house called the Compound, and it's in the middle of the desert. They're on a reality TV show, okay? So there's 10 women, 10 men. They signed up for this, so they know that they're supposed to be there. I think in the beginning it's just so shocking and it feels like, oh my god, were they abducted? But no, they know that they're there. They're signed up for this. They have agreed to it. And it kind of feels like Love Island mixed with Big Brother. So the women and the men have to kind of like couple up, and if someone is left sleeping in bed by themselves, they are banished from the compound. So it kind of gives the Love Island vibe there, where you have to like couple up and then the one remaining is bye-bye. They're communal tasks that they have to, well, they don't have to do them, but they are there for them to do, and everyone has to participate. They have to succeed in order to complete the task, and they win rewards for the house. So like food, drinks, shampoo, soap, couches, you know, that kind of stuff. Like things to make the house really nice so they feel like they're living, you know, in a good environment, to make it more appealing, right? But there are also personal tasks that an individual can do by themselves, and they're not allowed to tell each other what they've done. They're not allowed to say, oh, I did X, Y, and Z to get this reward. No, because that's against the rules. But they can just say, I got this doing a personal task. And those tasks, the longer they stay in the compound and the longer they aren't kicked off, the higher the rewards get, the more luxurious they get. So like at the beginning, you could get a comb, and then by the end you're getting like nice luxury clothing, brands, perfume, makeup, whatever. So you're really in the show, but you're almost like behind the scenes in the show, right? Because when you're watching reality TV, it's the bits and pieces that the producers and the people have put together to make the episode fun, right? Like the drama, the fun stuff, the embarrassing stuff, right? So it's catered to an audience. But we as the reader, it's very voyeuristic because we're seeing everything, right? We're seeing everything that you wouldn't necessarily see in an episode because we're just watching their entire days. And it's interesting because we're in Lily's mind and she's talking about the show in her head, you know? So we're really getting it from like an individual perspective instead of just like watching it through a screen. And it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. And so many people are going to disagree with me on that. They're going to say, no, it was boring, but it was so interesting. Like, you don't get attached to these people because you don't really know anything about them, because they're not telling each other things about themselves. They're having very superficial, surface level conversations because it's against the rules for so long to talk in this intimate way about their lives. So it's not even like you get to know these characters. It's just so interesting watching them interact and watching the bonds that are created, whether that's romantic or just friendship. It's interesting watching personalities clash because every person in this book, every character has a reality TV show stereotype. Like the dumb one, the mean one, the jockey, you know what I mean? So like if you've seen reality TV, and you know there's those stereotypes of people that come on and you're like, okay, you're gonna be the problem this season, whatever. It's the same thing. Like, they all fit into these slots. And it's so interesting. Like, I loved it. I was eating it up. Like, I was literally laughing because it's so unserious, but also so fascinating. I loved it. I loved the conversation about just reality TV and people going on those shows and how consumerism and capitalism really dictate our society. And oh my gosh, I was just eating this up. I can see like a lot of people wanting it to probably have gone like more off the walls crazy, but to me the ending was crazy, just in like a subdued way. And I I just laughed. I was laughing the whole time. I was having a great time. I loved this. I had such a good time. It was so weird and so perfect for someone like me who watches shows like this all the time. It kind of reminded me of Survivor a little bit in there too, because of some things that happen and the way they have to like fend for themselves at times. And Big Brother and Survivor, if you've watched it, the dynamic of the people in the house or the outside, if it's Survivor, they you know, they congregate, they go into groups, they team up even if it's without knowing that they're teaming up, and they plan on how to stay in and how to get people out. And so it was just funny to watch that happen in here as well. I loved it. 5 stars. So good. I'm so glad this is the book we're ending on for this reading vlog, because I don't want to push my luck. I feel like 2 5 stars is enough for me. And I did read several books off my TBR and get several books off the TBR. So our 2 final girls are The Compound and The Raven Scholar. They have successfully made it through. They are winners. They are survivors. Watermoon will also probably survive because I did really like that book. But all the others will be on my Pango. Or killed. I mean, they're gonna be killed. Being killed off is equal to being put on my Pango. So I hope you all enjoyed this version of my reading Goodreads Choice Award nominated books. I didn't want to do a whole category and read a bunch of books that I wasn't super interested in, and this way I was just reading books that I wanted to get off my TBR. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, that way I know, and let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts, opinions are on any of them. I would love to know. And with that being said, I hope you're having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!